It was quite quietly dramatic. 11 o'clock struck, and no news from Hitler.
On the morning of the 3rd September, I had a watch off, as we used to say, and at 11 o'clock some of my comrades came and woke me up. They prodded at me and said, "My God, George, the English have declared war on us." But we didn't yet have a declaration of war against England.
We all listened to Chamberlain's announcement that we were at war with Germany.
This morning, the British ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note stating that unless we heard from them by 11 o'clock, that they were prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland, a state of war would exist between us. I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
Within a quarter of an hour of Chamberlain's announcement that the war was on, the sirens started to wail.
I was physically sick because it suddenly dawned on me what the options were, what it was going to be like.
There was no panic at all. And my father decided we ought to go around and put sticky tape on all the windows, because if there were a bomb anywhere near, we might get injured.
Many people in Britain feared the invasion had begun. However, the air raid warnings had been set off in response to an unidentified aircraft.
Only years afterwards I found out that it had been the assistant French military attaché coming back from holiday, couldn't get on a boat, they were all stopped, so he hired an airplane and came over.
At 4 o'clock the same day, the French joined Britain in declaring war against Germany. Despite initial scares, hostilities started slowly, prompting visiting American journalists to coin the phrase, the phony war. And yet for some, it was anything but phony. Despite the fears of some Londoners that the Germans would invade the moment war was declared, the sunny autumn of 1939 seemed oddly peaceful. However, at sea, the battle had begun.
When my father realized the war was coming, he was determined to have some part in it. He was given this ship, the Rawalpindi, which was a passenger liner which used to go to and from India. And it was refitted in the Albert Docks in London, and I went down to see him there and have tea in his cabin. And he was like a new man. I've never seen anyone so excited. The Rawalpindi was on patrol off the southeast coast of Iceland when 2 warships were reported. And my father naturally assumed they were British, because at that time there was no warship, no German warship had ever ventured as far north as that. And so he turned, this was a great mistake, he turned the Rawalpindi towards these 2 ships and flashed an identification signal. And the signal that came back was not right, it was bogus. And then he realized, of course, that they were, in fact, enemy ships. They were fast battle cruisers, the Scharnhorst and the Gneisenau.
And then, of course, very sadly, we sank the Rawalpindi. Unfortunately, we only saved 6 men, 6 or 7, the Scharnhorst, that is, and the Gneisenau managed to pick up 20 people. But the Rawalpindi had a crew of about 350 men. The commander was Mr. Kennedy.
He didn't survive, and most of the crew didn't survive. A few survivors were picked up by the Germans, and a few more by another armed merchant cruiser the following day. But that really was that. And I grieved greatly for him, because I loved him very much, and would have loved to have met him in my uniform, in his uniform.
In November 1939, on the other side of the world, in the South Atlantic Ocean off Uruguay, Ted Wicks was on the light cruiser HMS Ajax.
come about November, there was a lot of talk about a pocket battleship being at loose in the South Atlantic. We never quite knew where this pocket battleship was, or even if it really existed, except that we began to get news of merchant ships being sunk.
The mission of the scaled-down German battleship, the Admiral Graf Spee, was first to wage war against the Royal Navy, and second to sink merchant shipping. However, she was more successful in this secondary purpose. The rumours Ted Wicks had been hearing were true. The Graf Spee had in fact sunk over 50,000 tons of shipping in only 3 months. Having received intelligence on the 13th of December 1939 that a large ship was close by, the crew of HMS Ajax were called to battle stations.
The alarm rattlers went, and everybody was rushing around on the ship to their action stations. And the word was that it was a pocket battleship, but none of us actually believed it. But I got on the flag deck just in time to see 2 or 3 huge columns of water going up, and it was hard to take in. The war had actually started, and there was a pocket battleship, and it was firing at us. And I think my main concern was, I just hope I don't show that I'm afraid, and I just don't show that I'm a coward or anything like that. You just want to behave in a proper way.
It was 6:15 in the morning when the Graf Spee opened fire on the Ajax, Exeter and Achilles. By 8 a.m, 2 turrets on the Ajax had been knocked out, the Achilles had been damaged, and the Exeter, largest of the 3, had retired, also damaged.
The Commodore decided that the moment had come to break off the action and to shadow the Graf Spee.
The Ajax followed the Graf Spee throughout the day.
It wasn't till early evening, really, that we realised that she was going to go into Montevideo. We followed her in as far as we could, and of course then we had to leave her.
In Montevideo, the Allies set out to deceive the Germans. They spread rumours that a British fleet was massing outside the harbour for an attack on the Graf Spee. While the German Navy buried its dead, the rumours reached Hitler. Not wanting the propaganda defeat of surrendering the Graf Spee to the British, Hitler ordered the captain to scuttle his ship.
On the Sunday, round about 4 o'clock, we received advice from intelligence ashore that the Graf Spee was weighing anchor and was moving out. We went to action stations. It really was very, very tense. We all assumed that the Graf Spee would come out and fight it out.
On the 17th of December 1939, the Graf Spee steamed out of Montevideo into the River Plate and blew herself up. The ship came out of the water, broke in 2 and landed on a sandbank.
And suddenly, the next thing we get is a message saying Graf Spee blown herself up. We couldn't believe it. It really was impossible to believe. But when we did realise it was true, we went mad. Absolutely went mad. All the tension of the past days was all dissipated, and it really was very exciting.
As the Ajax limped home for repairs, other ships of the Royal Navy set sail for Norway. On the 8th of April, they began mining the Norwegian Sea, hoping to prevent the export of iron ore to Germany.